Hey everyone, my name is Sean McGovern. I'm currently a senior chemical and biomolecular engineering major from Boston, Massachusetts. Don't ask me to spell my major because I still don't know how, even though I had 4 years to figure it out. Over my years at Hopkins, I've done work primarily through the Office of Multicultural Affairs, Pilot Learning, the Institute for Nanobiotechnology, and Senior Leadership Consultants. Like most students, I came into Hopkins very excited. And after my first year, I thought I'd established myself pretty well. I had a great group of friends. I was doing decent academically. I felt like I was just soaking in all that Hopkins had to offer. But in my sophomore fall, regardless of all this good, I started to slip into depression. I was not doing as well academically because my Chem BE core class was starting to kick my butt. I just ended a relationship with my girlfriend, and I didn't have a social life because I was spending all my time in the library, and I just felt like I was failing at everything I was doing. And needless to say, I ended up finishing up finals just in this awful weekend state, and I went into vacation hoping to, rejuvenate myself. But that January, right before I was about to come back for intercession, my father, who had been struggling with alcoholism and drug addiction issues, passed away suddenly and unexpectedly. And needless to say, again, it was hard, and I was a mess. And although I didn't want to admit I was a mess because I was supposed to be strong and great, and even though I was struggling, my father wanted me to keep going and keep doing Hopkins, I was crying multiple times a day. I was only taking 8 credits and I was still failing my classes, and I just was not doing well. And luckily I ended up in the counseling center, and my wonderful counselor and I decided that maybe it was best for me to take a semester off and take the time I needed to heal. So I finished up that semester on a medical leave of absence at home. I was able to deal and face what I needed to face. And I came back much better. And so I did come back after a semester in summer being at home, and I started to kick butt again. I mean, I did well academically. I reestablished myself socially and emotionally and mentally and physically, and I just was in a good place. Yes, I had my ups and downs, but I was doing well for myself. But as people who've gone through the grieving process know, it comes and goes and hits very hard at other times. So this past fall, my senior fall, I was hit with a tidal wave of depression, almost as bad as it was my sophomore spring. And the same things happened. Getting out of bed was a difficult thing to do every single day, and I was always late to things, and I was not doing well academically, and I just felt off. I was isolated. I felt quiet. I was just in this perpetual state of fog again, where I just felt like there was no hope. And there's no hope in future, and that's a scary thing to feel when you're a senior about to graduate. And I remember I found myself on a bench in Wyman Park, crying to my mom, and she taught me a very, very valuable lesson that day. And she finally said, Sean, you need to take ownership of your depression. And yes, it's an awful thing, and yes, she supports me, which she does, and she loves me, and all those things I know, but it was time that I really set in a plan, and I just owned up to my depression. And so I was back in the counseling center. I was put on antidepressants, which I was opposing because I thought only crazy people were on antidepressants. And I started being open with my friends and family about my depression, and I felt less isolated, alone, and I improved over the past few months. And as I sit here today, in a much better state, although my room and all the things I need to do beg to differ, it's a mess, and I know you can't see it, but it's a mess. I'm in a much better place, and I've grown to accept that my depression is part of who I am, and it does not define me, but is there. And yes, I may be on antidepressants for the rest of my life, and yes, the death of my father is something I still struggle to deal with every day. My ownership of my depression has been what has really saved and helped me. And I think that's my best advice to anyone who's struggling with anything, regardless of its depression or loss of a father, but any other mental affliction or issues they're dealing with, is take ownership and realize that it is part of who you are, and be sure to get the proper help. Although it's your own issue, it takes a team and a community and love and all the people around you to really help you out of it. And I think it's time to speak up, Hopkins. You're not alone.